Despite my obvious love for VR, it frequently feels like VR doesn't love me back. The games I want aren't getting VR updates, Nintendo still hasn't released a VR headset so I can play Mario Kart 8 VR, and a lot of my favorite genres have been horribly underrepresented. Case in point, where are the RPGs? Well, after hearing a ton of praise for RuinsMagus on other platforms, I thought that maybe my search would be over. Starting RuinsMagus complete does feel like your typical JRPG. You enter the town, join some guild, and very quickly you're introduced to your female companion, a young girl named Iris. And listen, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but Iris does seem to have a crush on you, which becomes even more apparent when another, even younger girl comes into the picture who also has a crush on you. It's uncomfortable to say the least, and there's even a subplot here about an adult woman and the young girl who are in love, so I don't know, there's certainly a theme here. Anyway, the core of RuinsMagus has you tackling mission after mission, all of which are virtually identical. After accepting the mission from the mission board, you'll head out into a dungeon, and all you're really doing here is killing every enemy in your way to open up the next door and eventually get to the exit. Combat's pretty simple overall, with a shield in your left hand to block and parry, and magic in your right hand to attack. You've also got a handy-dandy super attack that charges over time. There are a few different shields and gauntlets to acquire and upgrade, and eventually you'll unlock different types of magic to use too. But there's absolutely no depth here. If you find a combination of magic that you like here, just stick with it. There's really no reason to ever switch. As repetitive as the action is though, I think I could have excused it if there was any reason at all to explore the dungeons. Considering this is where you spend most of your time, I would have loved a risk-reward factor, of venturing off away from your goal, possibly encountering more dangerous enemies for the potential of finding better loot or extra gold. But the dungeons are barren, bland corridors with literally nothing in them but enemies and exits. As you progress through the game, you'll unlock more items to purchase and use in battle. Different types of grenades, health potions, stat injectors, and more. But RuinsMagus uses the worst inventory system I've ever encountered in any VR game thus far. The items are just below your view, which is a little distracting to say the least, and you have to cycle through them one at a time to find the item you're looking for. This is fine when you only have grenades and health potions at the start of the game, but when you're about to die in a boss battle and have to shuffle through 10 items to find the one you're looking for, well, that's inexcusable. There's a pretty decent digital HUD on the back of your shield. Why not display all of the items here and just let me grab the one I need? In any RPG, I always look forward to discovering the next town or returning back home after each mission to talk to NPCs, discover any side quests, to see what else I can buy, or if I've gotten enough XP to equip higher level weapons or armor. But RuinsMagus doesn't work like this at all. Your character doesn't have an XP bar and never levels up, and you can only level up your equipment a few times, and that's only when the story dictates it. So grinding just isn't an option here. The only town here is all broken up into different segments, and going from one section to another fades to black, which is something you'll see a lot of in RuinsMagus. And the one place really worth visiting is the item shop, and considering the only thing I do here every single time between every single mission is buy the maximum number of everything that I can, there should just be a button to cap off your inventory. At this point, it probably sounds like I absolutely hated RuinsMagus, but somehow that's not really the case. Yeah, there's a ton of problems, and some of the voice acting here is atrocious.
Okay, our very first quest. Let's go!
But there's an orchestral soundtrack that accompanies every dungeon and every cutscene, and the environments, although usually simple, generally look nice and run at a high enough resolution, although there is some noticeable reprojection. Beyond all that though, there was something that kept driving me forward. I played on the default normal difficulty, and within a few hours the game really starts testing you, making sure you use every ability at your disposal. So maybe it was the challenge of the game, or some of the cool boss fights that kept me coming back. But it certainly wasn't the story, the exploration, fun combat, the desire to level up, or anything else that an actual RPG would have had me coming back for. In fact, I'd venture to say RuinsMagus isn't even an RPG in any sense of the word. It's simply an action game set in a fantasy world. There's some fun to be had in RuinsMagus, but unfortunately, in order to have fun, there's also a lot to overlook. And I think I'm willing to overlook most of these problems because there just aren't enough games like RuinsMagus in VR, meaning that once we get some actual JRPGs, I doubt that many people will give RuinsMagus a second look.
Huh? A new member?
You're not just any old explorer to have found our gathering.